Okay, we are live, and I have got on the line with me Chris Rood. Are you there, Chris?
How you doing?
Awesome. So we're talking today about wholesaling and why most wholesalers aren't successful, and it's not generally what you think they are. Chris, you got some cool stories and things we want to get into. So first up, want to talk a little bit about who this is for. So anyone who's listening to this webinar or this workshop is in the right spot. So Chris, you teach about wholesaling and real estate investing, creative real estate investing. Who is the best person to listen to this webinar?
Great question. So the best person, Richard, I would say the person that's really just sick and tired of trading their time for money. And really just, they're a hustler and they're grinding it out every day and they just feel like they're not getting anywhere and want to jump on a different financial vehicle, right? Because this is a different financial vehicle than most financial vehicles. This is a Ferrari financial vehicle. It'll take you from where you are now and put you where you want to be fast.
Awesome. So if someone, basically just to recap, if someone is looking, they're not satisfied with where they're at right now, and they want to change that and be somewhere different where they have more control over their time, more control over their money, that's the right person to listen to the next 30, 45 minutes we have here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we're going to cover a couple of things on this session today, Chris. I know we're going to talk a little bit about why most wholesalers fail, talk a little bit about the mindset that's required to do this. And we're going to talk a little bit about marketing strategies that do and don't work. And we're going to talk about really how you can take this to the next level. But before we get to that, I wanted to introduce anyone who doesn't know who you are. So, Chris, you've owned multiple quick lube and mechanic shops and car washes and an auto glass company all since your college days. Own multiple properties in the real estate space valued at over like $9 million. And you currently run a very successful wholesaling business that nets between you said $60,000 and $100,000 a month?
That's right. We'll hit over 100K some months.
That's awesome. And you're also the host of, I think it's Into the Hustle on Grant Cardone's network. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what's that show about? What do you guys talk about on that show?
So we talk everything business, strategy, personal development, and real estate investing, particularly wholesaling lease options, using the rent-to-own method, how to buy single-family homes. Basically, everything you need to know about wholesaling, right?
That's awesome. So if people want to check out your show on Into the Hustle, they can just go to Grant Cardone's network to find that, right?
Yeah, just go to GCTV online and you can go and subscribe, and you'll get videos every time I put one out, giving you tips. I give away a lot of free content on that show. So if you want to learn about real estate investing, you can just pop on there and you get a lot of free stuff. So
awesome. So let's get into the actual content here and start off with where your business was when you first got started. Let's go back to like your first couple of businesses, because I want to really help connect with the people who aren't satisfied with where they are because of the financial vehicles they chose. So what was your business, or your business is, because you've had multiple, like when you first got started versus like what it's like now?
So when I first got started, guys, I was in the automotive business. I started an oil change business out of the back of my truck when I was in college, and turned it into a pretty successful, quick lube, car wash, and mechanic shops across my city that I bought and established, and did pretty well with that. But, I got to the point over, I'd say after about 4 or 5 years into it, I really started getting burnt out, because it's like the harder I worked, it's not necessarily the more money I made. It's like I had more and more problems, and I felt like I couldn't get ahead, right? And I couldn't get to where I really wanted to financially. I was doing okay and making decent money, but I was working like a slave. I was working 6 days a week, as you know, Richard, I have 5 kids, and I was working on Saturdays. My wife hardly saw me, and it was really tough on me and my kids. And I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I can't keep trading my time for money, 6 days a week, and, hardly seeing my kids and wife, and always stressed out. There's got to be a better way, right? And that's kind of where I started, looking for different financial vehicles, right? And that's when I ran into wholesaling.
Awesome. So since sort of discovering the secret of wholesaling, What has happened in both your business and in your personal life as a result?
Well, once I started wholesaling, I probably worked maybe 25 to 40 hours a week now, when I was working probably 60 to 80 hours a week. And I probably make, 5 to 8 times the amount of money now with minimal, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's just a different kind of work, right? It's a hustle that really pays big dividends, because I'm not trading. Like I said, I don't know if I've said this will be the third time I said this. I'm not trading my time for money anymore. I'm trading value. I'm able to find heavily discounted off-market properties for motivated sellers who pretty much give me their properties for pennies on the dollar. And I get those properties and get them under contract. And what am I doing? I'm selling these contracts, or I'm closing on them and either wholesaling them or wholesaling them and making huge spreads, guys. I've even made $70,000 on one deal. As a matter of fact, right now I have a deal under contract that I got for $115,000 that the bank appraisal just came in. Matter of fact, about 10 minutes ago for $190,000, guys. So I was able to capture, what is that? That's $75,000. $75,000 in equity. So I'm going to take this deal, right? I'm going to go ahead and close on it, throw it right back on MLS. And even if I get, it appraised for 190, but even if I get, 180 or 185 for it, or 175, guys, most people don't make that in a year. I should make anywhere from $60,000 to $75,000 in this deal. That's from one deal. That's just the power of, because you're capturing, and this isn't all in a month. I got, from the time I got the deal. Now, granted, we're going to close on it next week. I'll put it back on MLS. My wife, she's a realtor. It may take a month to sell. It may take less. Who knows? It may take 2 months. But even so, let's take that from the time I bought it to the time we close. Let's say worst case scenario, 3 months, correct?
That's crazy.
And that's probably going to be less than that. 3 months that you divide up, let's just say I make $65,000 on that, divide that up by 3 months. That's good money. You get a pipeline of 4 or 5 of those deals a month. You see and then granted, I don't make $65,000 to $75,000 on every deal, but if I can get a home run deal like that at least once every couple months, it adds up.
Yeah, I could do one deal like that a year and be done, and just take the rest of the year off. So tell me, how has that changed your personal life in your family and with your kids, and just sort of what you're able to do now because you're not spending all that time running your businesses?
Man, that is an awesome question, because me and my wife were just talking about that. We're so blessed by having this business and really, doing this business, because it literally has been a lifestyle change. I have like I said, I have 5 kids. I have one that has some issues, and we're able now to send him to the best schools, which is huge for us, because he really struggles, and poor thing, he needs a lot of help, and we just didn't know what to do. We really couldn't afford to send all of them, because we have 5 kids at all these really good schools. And now that I'm able to have this business, I can afford to send all of my kids to private schools and get them the help they need. That's powerful to me. And my wife, she feels as though that that's been the biggest blessing to us from this business, that we've been able to put all of our kids in the best schools here in our town, and just the time, right, and the freedom. Right now, as I do this webinar, I'm in Miami, Florida. I have an interview with Grant Cardone tomorrow about my business and wholesaling. Before, if I wasn't in, and I live in Lafayette, Louisiana, so it's far away, right? I would never be able to do this if I wasn't in real estate. I wouldn't be able to just take off for a whole week and miss work if I wasn't, wholesaling and making the kind of money I'm making now. It's just the freedom, right? It gives you more options, because I can do it. I can go and do this deal, right, and make $65,000 on it. Like Richard said, you can literally take off if you really wanted to for a couple months if you wanted to. I don't do that because I have to work, but I love working and making money. But the point is, it's freedom, guys. The freedom and the lifestyle change. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you it's easy. It's not easy, but it's not that hard either. I can give you the skill sets and the mindsets that you're going to need to crush this business.
Yeah, I tell my clients all the time that life is really about just stacking new sets of skills together. And then you can create whatever type of value you want.
That's so true.
And that's exactly what you're doing. You're offering people how to get
a
new set of skills So my next question for you is, why on earth would you take something that has been such a blessing in your life, creating income, creating freedom, creating wealth, and teach it to other people? Because I know the default mindset that most people have is sort of this mindset that if it's mine, I need to keep it. I need to keep it a secret. And I don't want to have, I don't want to create competition. I don't want to create problems. What is it, why did you decide to create Hustle Wholesaling University, and start teaching other people what you know how to do?
That's a great question. It just like you said, competition. Yeah. Is there a competition out there? Absolutely. But, the thing is, at the end of the day, when I get old and I'm on my deathbed, people are not going to care how much money you made. People are not going to care what your bank account looks like or how much real estate you own. But people will remember how many people you've helped. And the people you've helped are always going to remember that. And I want to leave a legacy, guys. I want to help people. I mean, you can only make so much money and you can only do so well in life. I mean, after that, it's like, okay, really, you want to make some more millions of dollars. It really doesn't add any more value to your life to keep on stacking the cash if you're not helping other people. But to help somebody that's in, say, my situation right now, who's maybe struggling with a job, who has a good attitude, he has a hustler mentality, he's really a go-getter and can really work and has people skills. If he may be in the same situation as me, if I'm able to give him what I know, the knowledge, and he's able to change his life like I've been able to change my life, how powerful is that, Richard, to really be able to help somebody financially, to be able to, say, put their kids in private schools, or be able to go on more than just one vacation every year, or just have the time to spend with their wife and kids. Maybe they're not able to go to soccer games because they're too busy, stuck at work till 5, 6 o'clock, and they can't bring their kids to, baseball practice or even coach their team because it's just, they got too much, going on as far as work, or they're always stressed out. For me to leave, my knowledge behind to other people is really gratifying, right? And like I said, to leave a legacy to other people and to help other people that's true self-satisfaction to me, to really help people.
So really the reason Hustle Wholesaling was born was out of a desire to leave a legacy greater than the work you do with your clients to, what's the word I'm looking for, to buy and sell homes, but you want to impact other people, sort of have a ripple effect in the world.
Absolutely. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't want, to get paid for it. I don't want money. Who doesn't love money? But to be able to help people in the process is even more powerful. The money's just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to show anybody what I'm doing. I could go ahead.
I always tell people that, we get paid in proportion to the value that we create. And when you can come in and give someone life-changing results, you get paid well for that. So obviously there's a profit motivation in building Hustle Wholesaling, but there's more to it than that.
Absolutely. It's like I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't want money or, don't desire money, because anybody tells you that is a fool and is lying to you, because I do want money. That's how I pay my bills and that's how I feed my kids. But to really help somebody and get paid for it is really the icing on the cake.
Absolutely. So I want to get into a little bit of your process for working with real estate deals. So I know you have a Hustle Wholesaling system that has a few parts to it, and I just want to sort of go over those briefly so people know how they work, and what the pieces are, and we can go from there. And I know at the end of the webinar here, we're going to make sure that they know where they can go to get more if they want more from you, but we'll basically cover the outline of the system for people. Does that sound good?
Sure. Where do you want me to start?
So I want to start with some myths. Now, I know you and I have been talking about this for a little while. There's a lot of people that teach real estate. And there's a lot of people that teach real estate really well. And there's a lot of people that teach real estate poorly. But even the ones that teach real estate really well, there is some problems with what they teach. And you were talking about scalability and marketing, and just being able to take someone from flat nothing to growing a business. not a lot of people actually account for how you scale that way. And I wanted to sort of have you cover the myths that other gurus are talking about.
Absolutely. I have to say, I can speak from this vantage point because I've actually worked for a lot of gurus, and I've seen what works, what hasn't worked, what makes a successful wholesaler a successful wholesaler. I've been in the trenches. I'm not just somebody that did a few deals and now I'm teaching. No, I do deals day in and day out, and I'm in the trenches day in and day out. I do this for a living. So I know what works, I know what doesn't work, and I know what students do that doesn't work because, like I said, I've worked for a lot of people. And the main thing that I can really pinpoint that students always trip up on and end up failing when they get into this business of wholesaling real estate is they run out of marketing money, and they go broke before they can really build momentum, because it takes some time to build this business. It may take you 60 to 90 days before you do a deal. But some students are going to be different. Some students I've seen do deals in 20 days or less. However, what a lot of coaches are teaching is, you got to go hard on direct mail. And I've seen it time and time again. And can you get deals off of direct mail? Absolutely. I've gotten deals from direct mail, but it is so expensive and the conversion rate is so small. By the time you get a deal, you end up going broke, and I've seen it time and time again. So my system is, tailor-made for the student who doesn't have a ton of money. Not everybody's got extra $20,000 of disposable income they can just throw at marketing. You got to have you need to have marketing money. You do. But most students don't have that kind of money. So this webinar is going to be for people who are trying to get in this business, who might only have an extra, $1,000 a month to put toward their marketing. If they do have that, I can scale their business pretty substantially, because I'm going to start them off with different techniques that are going to get them leads for a whole lot cheaper than direct mail. I believe in, not chasing the dog. I'd rather the dog chase me in a sense that, I want the good qualified leads to call me. I'm not going to just, take and mail out 5,000 letters to this random list or area and hope that they open it, for one, and two, hope that they're motivated and have a big enough problem in their life to even want to sell me their house for pennies on the dollar. And three, hope they have equity, right? There's a lot of things that have to come into play when you're doing direct mail. The sun, moon, and stars have to line up for you to get a deal. And I'm not saying direct mail doesn't work. Like I said, guys, direct mail can work, and I just don't recommend it to students when they're first getting started. And that's where my program is very different than most programs.
Yeah, so just to sort of capture that, most gurus are teaching skills that are for middle and higher up level of real estate investing.
Correct.
And not necessarily designed for someone who's just getting started and wants to scale through those. So like you mentioned, direct mail it's not that it doesn't work, it's just not where you start. Call centers, it's not that they don't work, it's not where you start. So you have some strategies that you teach people that are like, here's where you start, and you can do these small and you can do them piecemeal and then stack them together for growth until you get to a point where you can spend thousands of dollars on direct mail, get a 1% conversion rate, and that still is a net positive for your business. Correct,
absolutely. My marketing strategy is a lot different. I like inbound marketing. I like people calling me who are motivated, because those leads are a lot cheaper. And I can get into a few of these different marketing strategies if we have enough time, Richard. To give a little bit of value on this webinar.
Yeah. So let's go real quick into the first pillar of your marketing, your system here, which you call reverse marketing. Just describe for me real quick what you mean by reverse marketing. I know you mentioned a little bit you want the dog to chase you.
Right. So what I mean by, if you chase the dog, it's going to be hard to find a deal. Meaning if you send out, say, 10,000 letters to a list or an area, like I said, the sun, moon, and stars have to line up, and they have to be motivated. They have to open up the letter, and they have to have equity. And it's just tough. And I feel like if you are marketing to motivated sellers, you need to be what's called omnipresent. Omnipresent. You need to be everywhere, meaning you need to be all over social media. You need to be all over your streets, meaning you need bandit signs. You need to be in newspapers. You need to be on billboards. These marketing strategies are not that expensive, right? But they make you omnipresent. Meaning, omni means you're everywhere. It doesn't cost you anything to post stuff on social media. You know how many deals I get on social media from word of mouth, just posting? Hey, I buy houses cash, just in case you forgot. Hey, we buy houses. Anybody that needs to sell their house fast. Hey, anybody that's getting a divorce, or just simple things like that where you can get organic leads. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not kidding you. This month, I have $45,000 worth of deals, which is 2 deals, one I'm making 25 on and one I'm making 20 on. Both these deals came off of me just organically post. Actually, one of the deals from my wife post, and somebody she knew said, "Hey, go see Chris and Patty. They have a business where they buy houses." That deal turned into a $25,000 deal, and another deal turned into a $20,000 deal just from word of mouth, from people knowing what we do, just posting on social media. So that's a quick strategy. $45,000, guys, 2 deals.
From basically doing like, you and I are friends on Facebook and I've seen your posts where it's like, hey, just a reminder, we buy houses cash. If you know anyone who needs to buy a house, let us know. And like, that's all the posts said. Super simple. And you're saying just this month, those posts have resulted in $45,000 worth of deals.
Yep. We're closing on those 2 deals in a few days, in about 4 or 5 days when I get back from Miami next week. And not even just that, guys. I mean, yeah.
That's crazy. So for those people that are listening, hopefully they get the value of just like that one marketing strategy is potent. It would pay for you to hire Chris as a coach. Yeah.
Well, and make some cards, guys. Make some cards saying we buy houses, and then put on there, we pay referral fees. I mean, it's just start handing out the cards. Tell everyone, hey, I buy houses. Hey, you have to communicate. If you don't like to talk in this business, just in general, this business is probably not for you. If you communicate and you communicate well in a wide, broad scale, and you have to almost brand yourself in your city. Like people know it. Like I'm branded in my city. Like Chris Rood buys houses. Chris Rood is an investor. When people think of your name, they need to think, hey, that guy, Joe or Bill buys houses. That's the kind of stuff I teach. You want to brand yourself for your city. And does it take a little bit of time? Yes. But what happens is you start getting into momentum, and you start getting so many deals organically that you start making money hand over fist. And that's kind of one of the strategies I teach, and how to get to that point of momentum. Does that make sense, Richard?
Yeah, it does. Which brings me to the next step in your system. So you covered just a single example there on some of your reverse marketing. After you get a lead from one of your reverse marketing techniques, you talk about qualifying them. And I know you've mentioned a little bit, having equity and things like that. But what do you mean when you qualify a lead, and why is that an important step in the system?
You have to qualify these leads, right, guys? You got to make sure that you even have a deal. You got to make sure that that it has equity. You got to make sure that they have an actual problem in their life, which creates motivation. I always tell my students, problems equals motivation equals deals. Nobody's going to sell you their house for pennies on the dollar or 60 cents on the dollar if they don't have a major problem in their life. We're marketing to distressed sellers, and we're trying to find people who have problems so we can help them sell their house fast, because they can't sell. They don't want to use a realtor. They need a quick sell, and that's where they find you. And you got to make sure that you're listening, right? I teach all of my students, you're a good listener over the phone. You're asking the right questions. I have a script I go by, and you're making sure that you're really listening to find out what's really happening in their life that they need to sell fast. That's where the magic is made. Then once you pinpoint they have a problem, then there's going to be some motivation, and they're going to be willing to sell you their house for pennies on the pennies on the dollar.
Awesome. So that's qualifying the leads. I know this is where, because I've been through a lot of real estate training, your third step here is where you sort of veer from the course a little bit. And I think it's sort of what sets you apart and why you've been so successful. And that's that you actually meet in person with all of your leads. So talk about that a little bit. Why is that so powerful for your business?
That's a great question, because, guys, this is a relationship business. This is a human-to-human business. You got to talk to people. People got to like you. You got to build rapport. You got to be a people person, guys. If you think you're going to go to somebody's house and just go walk in and 5 minutes later get a contract out of them, I'm not saying you can't, you can, but it's highly unlikely. And people do business with people they know, like, and trust. You've got to become their friend first. You've got to really connect on an emotional level. We're emotional creatures, guys. We want to do business with people we like. If you don't get the homeowner to like you, he's probably not going to sign a contract with you. You know, you've got to really connect. And that goes back to personal development. That's one of the key things I'm huge on that I help my students with is personal development, communication skills, really learning how to build rapport and talking to people, because you got to be a people person.
And I want to clarify too, just so people catch this. It's not that building rapport and becoming their friend and finding out and care, it is like a technique that you use to close sales. It's an actual legitimate, you care about these people and you want to help them solve their problems.
Exactly.
And that's why you close deals where other people can't.
Yes, because you can't fake it till you make it. People know when you're faking it. Like, you got to be genuine. You got to be an authentic person that really is trying to figure out the best solution where everybody benefits. I'm not saying that, obviously you're going to benefit and get paid for it handsomely, but you have to come to a reasonable agreement where the homeowner wins, you win, and your cash buyer wins. And that's where, if you have that if that's your intention and you're trying to make it a win-win for everybody, hey, you can't go wrong. But if you're going to go in there and just start, throwing out numbers right when you get there and just look at the house, say, hey, I'll give you $120,000, and you've been there 5 minutes, guys, you're going to lose the deal to another investor. They're just not going to want to do business with you.
Okay, so assuming that you've gotten through this point and they actually want to sign a contract with you, your next step is you actually go through, you clear the title, and you get interest.
Exactly.
Can you briefly just cover what do those two things mean?
Yeah, so what you're going to do, once you get this house in a contract from a motivated seller, you're going to send it to a title company that you trust and has a good standing relationship with you, and they know what you're doing, and they know that how wholesaling works and assignments and double close. They're going to run title, make sure there's no encumbrances on the title, meaning there's no judgments or liens. Once you have clear title, you're going to go ahead and start marketing this contract to an investor, right? You're going to pitch it to your list, right? And then I'll show you how to find all these guys and how to build a huge list of guys who are investors in your town, and we're going to show you how to sell your deals for the biggest spreads and maximize your profits, right? And not just that, if it may be a deal like on the deal that I'm doing right now, where I'm going to make $65,000 to $70,000. If it's a real beefy deal that you're going to make a lot of money on, I'll show you how to double close it, or actually close on it using hard money and throw it back on MLS and really make a ton of money. We call that a wholesale deal. So there's different strategies. Now, once it goes to title, we have clear title, we find an end buyer, we can assign our rights to the contract to the end buyer, which is going to be the cash buyer at the closing table. And that's where you get paid, and you get paid handsomely for it.
So that's your last bit, is closing the deal. And you just mentioned there's a lot of different ways that you can go about closing the deal, depending on how much,
correct,
what you call it, meat is in the deal,
yeah.
Right? If it's
right.
If it's a slim deal, you might assign your contract. If it's a big, huge deal, you might double close it. And I know those are all jargon terms, but you teach people
correct.
How to use all of those different deal closing techniques and when to use them.
Correct. I mean, this webinar is just not long enough for me to tell you all the different strategies of, double close versus a wholesale versus a wholesale. I don't have enough time, but I mean, I teach all this, guys, and it's not complicated. It's pretty simple, but you guys get the idea. We're either going to wholesale it, or we may just flip it. I mean, if it's a deal that you can possibly make even, 80 to 100 grand, then that's where I kind of get into helping you. Hey, maybe we need to rehab this and flip it. So
awesome. So just to recap your system, it's qualify the leads, meet with the leads, clear the title and gather interest, show the property to your potential buyers, and then close the deal using one of the creative real estate techniques that you teach. And that's really all it has taken, is mastering those 5 sets of skills to take your business from where you were spending 60, 80, 90, 100 hours a week, not getting to see your family, not getting to do the things that you wanted to do. Mastering those 5 steps has taken you where you are now. That's right, Richard. I mean, it's really that simple. When I say it's simple, it's not simple in the sense that it's
anybody can do it, because I don't want to sit there and tell you, blow smoke up your butt and say this is so easy. It takes some skill sets, it takes the right personality, and it takes someone who's going to, that's why I call it hustle wholesaling, because it is a hustle. Like, you got to be Johnny on the spot. You got to be fast. You got to get to the lead before anybody else does, which I cover this. This is all, covering the personal development side of, the course. And, it is a beautiful business, guys. If I would have got into this 10 years ago, put it this way, well, I don't say I'd be retired, because I don't think I'll ever retire, but I would be 10 times better off than where I am now, because I don't know of a better business model out there where you can get started for such a small amount of money, and you don't need a brick and mortar, business, on the street to start this business. All you need is an iPhone, a little bit of marketing money, and a whole lot of hustle, and you can make a good living off of this.
Okay, so two things that popped into my head listening to you talk just there is that the people that are a perfect fit for this are going to be in one of two situations. They're going to be listening to this webinar and go, you know what, that's me. I have hustle. I have the skill sets already. I know I can just go out, and if I learned the individual little bits, I could do this. That's one group. And if those, we'll talk to those people in just a minute. But for the second group is people is like, you know what, I want to do this business, but I'm not sure if I have those skill sets yet. Can that second group of people, can they learn those skill sets? Can they learn to be a people person? Can they learn to have hustle? And do you teach that?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have, group calls with Mindset Mondays where we're going to talk about different skill sets you need. You got to know how to sell, guys. You got to know how to negotiate. You got to know how to build rapport. You got to know how to connect with people. And that's what we're going to talk about on the group coaching calls, especially on Mondays. And look, selling, people say, well, Chris, I don't like to talk to people. I'm just not a salesy kind of guy. Listen, I was a quiet, shy person growing up. I actually almost, had to force myself to learn how to sell. I mean, selling is a learnable skill, guys. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, I mean, he teaches all about sales, and that's why I have my show on his network. I mean, you literally can learn how to sell just from picking up some of his books, and I've read most of his books. I've been through Cardone U. I mean, it's really not that hard. But if you can sell, you can negotiate, you can connect, you can build rapport, guys, you will crush this business.
Awesome. So I just wanted to make that clear that there's certain people that are just going to already have those skill sets. But if you don't have that skill set, you can still learn the hustle wholesaling method, and Chris will teach you those skill sets, how to build rapport, how to sell, how to negotiate. It's all sort of part of what you teach, Chris. So I know you wanted to keep this short today, so that's really the whole kit and caboodle here on the webinar. So hopefully in the past 35 minutes or so, you would agree it's been time well spent, right? I know if you were to take just the steps here that Chris gave you, you could probably do your own research, practice, do some trial and error, and figure out how to do this system. And that is one of your options. I mean, you could basically go out there and go it alone, which is not a terrible way to go. I know, Chris, you did that yourself. You went out and you learned this process. You hired some coaches, hired some mentors, and you learned this process, from, on your own. And I guess my question would be, how long do you think it would take someone to sort of take your steps that you have that they just learned on this webinar, do the research, put it into practice, and actually get to the point where they're proficient with it?
60 to 90 days, guys. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. I mean, it's not rocket science. We're not flying to the moon. We're not splitting atoms. We are finding, heavily discounted off-market properties for motivated sellers, getting the house under contract, and we're selling our rights to the contract to an end buyer. That's really all we're doing. Now, the nuts and bolts behind how you do all that is what I teach. I mean, it sounds simple. I mean, it is very simple. It's just a matter of your hustle, your communication skills, and your willingness to learn and want to change your life is what it really boils down to. You wanting to, change your life financially is what's going to boil down to you wanting to, or being successful in this business.
Absolutely. So again, that's your first option, is to just take what you learned in this webinar and go and figure it out. Or option number 2 is you could sort of skip over all that trial and error, the frustration, the agony that sort of comes from trying to figure out a system. And you can shortcut all of that and get on the phone with Chris, right? Because Chris, I know you're doing something which is kind of crazy considering where you are in your business. You're offering VIP breakthrough sessions for anyone who watches this webinar, where they can get on the phone with you for, 35, 45 minutes, and have you actually help like help them build a plan to get from where they are to where they want to be.
Yeah, look, guys, if you want to talk to me in person, book a call with me. We can, we can talk for a little while. We can map out, where you are now, where you want to be, and I'll map out a plan and see if I can help you guys. I mean, if this is what you really want to do, if you feel like you have the skill sets, and even if you don't have the skill sets, I can help you with that. And if you're shy, and if you just want to change your financial vehicle to a better financial vehicle, I can help you. Book a call with me. We'll hop on the phone and I'll see if I can help you.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions. First question, what is it that you actually do on these calls with these people? I know you said 30, 45 minutes. What do you do in 30, 45 minutes that is going to, what are they going to walk away with, whether or not they choose to do business with you in the future?
Well, I'm going to give them some good value for the call. I'm not just, look, am I here to, help you, make a decision to, get into this business? Absolutely. Am I going to try to sell you something? Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and BS you, but I am going to give you a lot of value on the call, and I'm going to make you understand that I'm here to help you. And I am going to make sure that when you hang up with me, even if you don't want to, do business with me or, hire me as a coach, then I'm going to give you a lot of value for the call. And just with the content I'm going to give you over the phone, you better get started on your own.
So they could literally walk away from this phone call with a plan to go from, getting out of their, Toyota Prius and into the Ferrari for their financial vehicle. They'll have that plan in place by the time they get off the phone with you, whether or not they ever choose to do business
Absolutely.
in the future.
Yeah, it's up to them to make a decision if they want to, hire me as a coach. But, when you hire a coach, guys, all you're doing is skipping the learning curve. Can you figure this stuff out for your own, on your own? Absolutely. I mean, you really can. It may take you a lot longer. You're going to have a huge learning curve. You're going to maybe fall on your face a bunch of times, but skip all that, guys. You want to go straight to revenue. You want to go straight to making money and doing deals. Hire a coach. Look at the top CEOs. Look at, some of the best athletes in the world. Read some of their books they've written. What is a common thread? What do they all say? They all hired mentors and coaches, which helped them to get to the top of their game. And that's a common thread amongst top athletes, top executives, top CEOs, and people that are just professionals at what they do.
Awesome. Which brings me to my second point, or second question, which is how much are you charging for these breakthrough session calls? And again, remember, you're actually getting on the phone with someone who's super successful doing this exact business, going to help you build a plan. I would think that'd be an expensive call to get an hour of your time and to actually help someone build a plan. But what are you charging for these calls?
Nothing. I'm not charging anything. I'm going to get on the call with you. I'm going to see where you are now, where you can be, and help you map out a plan to get there, guys. And that's what I'm going to help you do over the phone.
Okay. So, and I know we were talking about this earlier. There's two reasons you do these calls. One of the reasons is obviously because it's how you attract high-level clients, right? It's how you're going to get people to come in and coach with you and go through your programs and maybe even become potential investing partners in some of the things that's in your business.
That's right.
But second, it's also how you give back. So talk about that for a minute on sort of, I guess, the reason why you would take your time to do these calls, knowing that not everyone who's going to get on the call is going to end up being a high-level client. Why do you still feel that's important for your business?
Well, look, we have different programs. You don't have to have, $100,000 to get in my program. It's, we have so many different programs. I'm even willing to give scholarships here and there to help certain students. I have programs where we have partnerships. I actually have a couple partners right now that are, that have hired me to coach them who, if you qualify, you have to be a good fit now to actually partner with me in your market. We've actually become like physical partners. Like we sign contract, we're in business together. That's my high level coaching, and that's not for everyone, but a lot of people may be attracted to that. But we have so many different options for you guys. We have it for the newbie investor who is just really green, who doesn't know anything, who doesn't have a ton of money to invest himself, or his market in marketing, to the person that may have, $5-10 grand to invest in himself to really scale his business, even down to, a couple $100, where we have programs at that price range. So we make this available to anyone, because not anyone's going to have, not everyone may have $500. Not everyone's got $10,000. Not everybody's got $25,000. But what I'm going to do is we're going to sit down. We're going to figure out what your situation is. How hungry are you to get into this business? What are your skill sets? What are your goals? And how can I help you get there and accomplish that? Does that make sense, Richard?
It does. So obviously you do these calls to both help give back to the community, but also to help attract high-level clients. And every time someone gets off the call with you, they're going to walk away with a plan to grow their business, regardless of what situation they're starting in, which I think is incredible. So the only last thing here is just what they need to do to get on the call. And we're going to go ahead and throw up a link on the screen. I believe it's chrisrood.com/apply. And you can click that link and just fill out the application. That application will go to, I believe, Chris's assistant, and we'll get a time scheduled on Chris's calendar. And you guys will actually get on the phone. So you'll get on the phone with Chris Rood, the guy who's doing this webinar. It's not going to be one of Chris Rood's, like hired guns or something like that. You'll get on the phone with Chris, and you'll get to speak to him. Same guy that's, Grant Cardone invites to teach on his network. So that's pretty cool. That you can get on the phone with him for 30, 45 minutes and actually build a plan to grow your business. So with that, Chris, do you have any final thoughts for people who have watched this webinar? Who are the right people to go ahead and click that link and fill out the application? Just any closing thoughts?
Guys, take action. You always tell people, action is superior to knowledge, because through action you can build knowledge. The most successful people I know they're not necessarily the smartest people. They don't have the most knowledge, and they're not the most learned, but they are the biggest action takers. They are doers. And those are the guys and girls that are going to crush wholesale, and those are the guys and girls that are just going to do well in life overall. You've got to take action. You can't get stuck in indecision. So take action. Book a call with me. I'm going to give you a lot of value on the call. I want to help you. I want to help you help yourself and help you change your life, help you make more money to actually be able to live a better quality of life through real estate investing.
Absolutely. So, Chris, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your expertise today on the call, and for opening your calendar to have people, hop on and actually spend some time helping people get where they want to go. I know not a lot of trainers will actually take the time to do that, but you do, which is fantastic. So again, thank you for your time today, and thank you for the time that you're going to spend in the future with all the people who book calls through this webinar.
Thank you, Richard.
Awesome. And with that, go ahead and click the link, guys. Fill out the application, and you'll get your call booked with Chris. And thank you for joining us on this webinar, and enjoy the rest of your day with your family and everything else.